Hi everyone, welcome to the lesson. You've made it to lesson number 37, and in this lesson we're going to be talking even more about conditionals. So more specifically, we're going to take a look at the third type of conditional, which is known as the type 2 conditional. So you remember we learned the type 0 and then we learned the type 1 conditional. Today we're going to learn the type 2 conditional. Remember, there are 5 conditionals all in all. Type 0, type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4, which is known as the mixed conditional. So we've already looked at type 0 and we've looked at type 1. Now if you want to learn more about those, you can watch the previous lesson to review them if you need to. They're pretty simple, and actually so is the one that we're going to learn today. The type 2 conditional refers to a hypothetical situation and what the probable result would be if something were to happen. Okay, it can take place in the current moment, like right now, or it could be really any time for that matter. Also, remember that it's not real or based on fact. Okay, so we're talking about things that are hypothetical when we use this type of conditional. Okay, the type 2 conditional. All right, it looks like this. If, okay, so you always start off with if, because remember, these conditionals are also called if clauses. Remember, if clauses. Okay, so this conditional is an if clause. We start with if, and then you have the past simple, like in the other lessons, in the other types we've learned too. And then you have the word would, okay? And then you have the infinitive without the word to. Do you know what an infinitive is, guys? All right, an infinitive is a verb like to go, to eat, to say, to talk. How about that? Okay, we'll start with these ones first. Okay, infinitive. This is all an infinitive right here. Okay, all this is infinitive. Now, infinitive without the word to. Get rid of to. Get rid of to and get rid of to. So now it becomes known as a base infinitive. Okay. W-O. See how we do that in English? We have W/O, W/O. This right here means with, and this right here means out. So when you put them together, it becomes with out. And sometimes English speakers, we write W-O with a slash right here. See how we have that slash? Okay, we do that to write the word without when we want to make it short. Okay, so again guys, let's look. If plus the past simple, and then you have the word would, and then you have the infinitive without to. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll look at some examples. And just keep in mind, guys, that most English speakers, like Americans and British people and those from Ireland and Scotland and all the countries where English is spoken, we use it to talk about things that are unlikely to happen in the future. Okay, they're not realistic. All right, so let's go ahead and begin, but keep that in mind. Okay, we're talking about hypothetical things that happen now or anytime. Okay. If I were rich, I would buy a big house. Okay, if I were rich. Are you rich? No, no. You're not rich. We're talking about a hypothetical situation. If you were rich, okay, then you would buy a big house. So I'm saying this. If I were rich, I would buy a big house. Stop. Okay? Guys, I want to show you something. In English, okay, I just want you to take a look here, okay? Notice that in English, when we use this type of conditional, which is the type 2 conditional, the conjugation of the verb to be, right? Because were is from the verb to be, okay? And remember, the past simple of to be is were and was. Okay, were and was. So notice that in English, when we use this type of conditional, the conjugation of to be can be either were or it can be was for the pronouns I, he, she, and it. Okay, so you can say, for example, if I was rich, I would buy a big house. You'll hear Americans say that, you know, you'll hear people say that. If I was rich, I would buy a big house. Okay, but you can also say, if I were rich, I would buy a big house. In English, we generally use the word were, okay? We generally use the word were, okay, for an unreal condition, okay? Whereas we use this one right here, was, if the condition is real, okay, with real conditions. But, okay, especially I noticed for American speakers of English, this can be a little subtle. So you'll hear people say both. You'll say, if I was rich, or if I were rich, da 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 da. You'll hear both, okay? But this one is more grammatically correct, okay? If I were rich, I would buy a new house, okay? Okay, let's continue. Would you buy a sports car if you won the lottery? Won is the past simple coming from the verb to win. Would you buy a sports car if you won the lottery? Okay, the lottery is something that you play in America. You can win millions of dollars, right? We call it the Powerball. So we call it the Powerball, and that's the name of the lottery in America. They'll say, hey, have you played the Powerball? The Powerball is at $300 million right now. Did you play? You can say, yeah, I did play, or no, I didn't play, I didn't have the money. I didn't have $1. You only need about $1, $2, or $3 to play. Then you can win like $200, $300 million. So that's how we call it the lottery. A lot of people say Powerball, the Powerball. In other countries though, the lottery can mean the possibility for a visa application to move to another country. For example, the American lottery abroad in other countries, such as in more countries that are struggling economically, like more poor countries, they call it the American lottery, where they can win a visa to come and live in America. Okay? All right, next. If you had more free time, I would invite you to the beach. Okay, this one's pretty simple. If you had more free time, I would invite you to the beach, but you don't. Okay, you don't have free time. Would she win the election if it were held today? Okay, hypothetically speaking, if the election were held today, would she win? No. I told you in the last lesson, guys, that actually you can switch it. So, if you want to say this part right here first, you could do that. This can be number 1. And this part right here could be number 2. So you could say, for example, I would invite you to the beach if you had more free time. So you can flip it, okay? Even here, you can flip it. If you won the lottery, would you buy a sports car? All right, it's a question. Or even here, I would buy a big house if I were rich. I would buy a big house if I was rich, okay? All right. Would she win the election if it were held today? Or if it were held today, would she win the election? Next, if the weather was nice, I'd go ride my bike. Okay, or you could say sometimes, if the weather were nice, I'd go ride my bike. So you could say both. If I found a kitten in the street, I would adopt it. Okay. If I didn't break the law, then I wouldn't be punished. Okay, remember, didn't break. That's the past simple coming from the verb to break, but in the negative. Okay? Remember, if it wasn't negative, it would be if I broke the law. If I broke. Broke is the past simple coming from the verb to break. Okay, but when it's negative, like in this case, we would say didn't, okay, and then we would say break, okay, coming from the verb to break, okay. If I didn't break the law, then I wouldn't be punished, okay. Next, if we weren't sick, same thing. Notice, weren't, negative. We would happily go with you if we weren't sick, hypothetically, but are we sick? Yeah. In this case, we're sick. If we weren't sick though, we would happily go with you. If you ate healthier, you would be thinner. Okay, if you ate healthier, you would be thinner. If you slept earlier, you wouldn't be so tired. Okay, sometimes I've noticed students, see that word slept right here? Okay, sometimes I see students, for example, it comes from the verb to sleep. For example, in the present tense they say I sleep, you sleep, he, she sleeps, da 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 da. Okay, now remember how we make something in the past? For example, normally we make the past simple for regular verbs by adding ed at the end. Okay, but can you add ed here? Right? Sleeped? No, you cannot say that. We can't do that. Instead, we need the T. Okay? It becomes slept. S-L-E-P-T. Slept. Okay? Okay, moving on, guys. If I were you, I'd invest in this company. Okay? Meaning, if I were in your place, if I were you, I have a good idea, I would invest in this company, right? In your place, I'd invest in this company. Okay, it's a good idea that you invest in this company. It's sort of like a suggestion. It's a suggestion. He's saying, if I were you, hint, 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 I would invest in this company because you'll make a lot of money. And then finally, if it snowed, we would build a snowman. Okay, if it snowed, we would build a snowman. You know what a snowman is? Snowman has usually three large snowballs, and then you have the buttons, okay? And then you have the arms. The arms are made out of stick. The buttons are made out of rock. And then you have eyes made out of who knows, right? Also for a snowman, what do they have as the nose? Do you know what they have as the nose? For the nose, you have a nose, a carrot nose. So it's orange. And then you need a mouth. That's a snowman, guys. So you're saying hypothetically, if it snowed, we would build a snowman. Okay, but is it snowing? No. Okay, we're talking about hypothetically, if it snowed, then we would build a snowman, but right now it's not snowing. Okay? All right, guys, I think that's going to be pretty much it for this lesson. Soon we're going to learn even more about conditionals, but until then, I'll see you next time, okay? So, bye-bye. See ya.